Hello everybody, how are you doing? Sorry for not being there for a couple of weeks, but today my content is special because my content has been developed after I spoke to a very dear friend of mine, a very old friend of mine. And this friend of mine, he works very closely with the youth, and he is of the opinion that very soon youngsters of today, they are going to go into the corporate or to the workplace. There's going to be a clash between the older generation, that's us, and a senior generation, and this younger generation, because the younger generation is very different from the older generation. Their views, their viewpoints, their values, their principles are very different, and that is because we have raised them very differently. So today's video is how the younger generation and the older generation should not misunderstand each other in the workplace, because now after the pandemic is receding a little, I know the Omicron is lurking, but still people are taking in so generations is getting hired, and yes, they are going to be working together. So that is what we are looking at, and that is what I am looking at. और इसीलिए ये वीडियो dedicated है both to my younger generation and to the older generation. So the first thing, क्या करते हैं आप जब आप first time workplace पे जाते हैं? What is the first thing that you do? You shake hands, right? So how do we, the older generation, how do we shake hands? अच्छा, मैं जितनी बार older बोलती हूँ काफी old लगती हूँ. I'm feeling old also, but don't mind. It is only about seniority that we are talking about. So how do we feel? How do we shake hands? So if we are of the same gender, then a firm handshake that shows off your confidence is what we have learned. And if you're shaking hands with the opposite gender, then it's a soft but firm handshake, and twice. That's what we have learned. But ये जो बच्चे हैं, इनके लिए gender discrimination है ही नहीं, क्योंकि हमने इन्हें सिखाया ही नहीं. Good for us, kudos to us, because हमने इन्हें सिखाया नहीं gender discrimination. इसीलिए ये handshake सबके साथ एक ही तरह के करते हैं. And sometimes you will see that they will shake with both their hands if they are very, very grateful for something, or if they are very happy, or if they are very intimidated by something, they will shake with both the hands. Now, holding on to a different person from a different gender's hand is not something that they think it is derogatory or it is unpardonable in a workplace. इनके लिए ये अद्भुत चीज नहीं है. It is okay with them, because जहाँ से ये लोग आए हैं, जिस colleges से आए हैं, जो institute से आए हैं, यहाँ पे please understand that the rapport they have with their professors or with their teachers, with their mentors is also very, very informal. तो ये एक informal environment में बड़े हुए हैं, तो इनके लिए gender discrimination नहीं है, age bar नहीं है. The generation for which everything is very, very open. ये लोग बहुत accommodating होते हैं, and इन लोगों के अंदर इतने सारे वो लोग ज़्यादा मतलब I will not say that they are not serious. They are very serious about their work, but they are not serious about frivolous things in life. Okay, like dressing up or how to talk to another generation and what they will say. No, they don't mind all that. Whereas the older generation, we have been brought up in a very conservative way. So we have our do's and don'ts in the office, and that is how we've been working for the past 30, 40, 20 years. And इसीलिए हम लोग के लिए it is very important. So please do not misunderstand your younger generation if they come and hold on to your hand. And younger generation के लिए मैं ये बोलना चाहती हूँ, don't feel bad if your boss just holds your hand and shakes it once, because that is what he or she has learned, right? Next thing that I want to talk about is the touch. The touch is something that the younger generation does not discriminate in. ये लोग हिचकिचाते नहीं हैं, क्योंकि they do not believe in the gender discrimination. So for them, touching is not a big deal. But because the older generation, or we have come up with a lot of gender discrimination. We've seen a lot of gender discrimination. We believe in not touching your co-workers, but ये लोग ऐसा नहीं सोचते हैं. So the first thing is, if your colleague is of not of the same generation and वो आपको टच करते हैं, don't take it otherwise. It is not sexual harassment. Or if you see a group of youngsters talking in front of your office and you want to tell them and you see them hugging and holding hands and tugging at each other, no, it is not inappropriate. I'm talking to people like us who are of the elder generation. And मैं ये young लोगों को ये बोलना चाहूँगी कि अगर आप ये देखते हो कि आपके बॉस जो है और आपके सुपरवाइजर जो है वो आपके पीठ पे पैट नहीं करते हैं, वो आपको वेल डन माय फ्रेंड नहीं बोलते हैं, या फिर दैट वाज अ ग्रेट जॉब बोल के हग नहीं करते, इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो आपको अप्रिशिएट नहीं करते. इट डजंट मीन दैट he or she does not appreciate your work. It is just that when we, the older generation, tell something, we refrain from physical touch because that is what we have been taught, unlike what you have been taught. Okay? Next thing is office culture. For you people, everything is very open. So, and that openness is slowly penetrating into the office culture also. So, yes, you do not believe that a supervisor should be left out if you're having a discussion. And for you, discussions include everything. So you can talk about anything under the sun. But we, the older generation, we refrain from certain topics that we should talk about until and unless we're extremely close. And that too not within the office premises. That's the decorum that the older generation follows. For the older generation, some topics are a taboo. For example, talking about sex is a taboo. Talking about, in the office premises, of course, talking about your partner or discussing intimate things are a taboo within the office premises. But when it comes to the younger generation, it is not a taboo. They are very, very open and they don't feel shy talking about anything. So if a younger generation person goes on to talk about a certain thing to the supervisor and the supervisor does not respond, please understand that the supervisor does not belong to your same and the supervisor does not belong to your same generation. तो वो आपके बात को शायद समझते हैं लेकिन वो कुछ कमेंट करना नहीं चाहते हैं, only because we have been brought up in a different manner, और आप जो है you have been brought up in a different manner. For you, what is not a taboo is a big taboo for us. So please understand that. And that is where the difference comes in. Another point, going out with your supervisor or going out with your seniors is not a big deal for these people, because in most of the ACE institutes, the professors and the students, as I have learned from my friend, they share a very informal relationship. So please understand that they are coming from these institutes and they expect the same type of reciprocation in the corporate culture also. But that might not be true. You cannot always ask your supervisor out or your senior colleague out for a drink on a Friday evening. That person might not like it. You cannot just come up, आप जाके उनको ऐसे ही नहीं बोल सकते कि सर या फिर मैम चलिए हम लोग we are going out for drinks. Older generation usually do not appreciate such gestures, and the older generation also has to understand that the younger generation, they are not used to such discrimination. ये लोग ये नहीं समझते हैं कि older generation और younger generation में ये जो difference है, ये difference ओल्डर जनरेशन के लिए डिफरेंस है, यंगर जनरेशन के लिए ये डिफरेंस नहीं है. आई एम अ मदर ऑफ अ वेरी यंग गर्ल हु इज गोइंग टू टेक ऑन द कॉर्पोरेट नॉट इन अ वेरी लॉन्ग टाइम, एंड आई see the difference. So for her, it is not very difficult to talk about things. It is not very difficult to talk to elders about things which we wouldn't think of talking to our elders about. And so I find that we have to change, we have to adjust, and we have to kind of, हम लोग को थोड़ा अपने जो दायरे हमने बना रखे हैं उससे थोड़ा आगे आना है. And these people, because they are so open, I think they accept everybody and anybody. ये लोग बहुत sweet होते हैं, and they are very accommodating, जिसको हम बोलते हैं. तो ये बहुत accommodating होते हैं. So only if the older generation and the senior people of the system, they come out of their so-called conventional methods, and if they come out and step a little forward towards the generation, then I think it's going to be a beautiful amalgamation of the old and the young ones, to make the workplace a much better area. So 4 things that we talked about today. First was the handshake. So don't mind the handshake if your senior does not shake your hand, or if the new employee holds on to your hand and shakes it. Coming to patting on your back or hugging or physical touch, yes, the older generation has to understand that the younger generation does not discriminate between the genders, and so physical touch is not a problem for them. And similarly, the younger generation also has to understand what is physical touch for the older generation. Then there are certain things that the older generation still needs time to get used to, so the younger generation has to understand that कुछ चीज़ अभी भी है जो कि ये लोग रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं, द ओल्डर जनरेशन रिस्पेक्ट करते हैं, तो आपको भी थोड़ा रिस्पेक्ट दिखाना चाहिए. विथ टाइम आई एम श्योर ये जो amalgamation है ये दोनों जनरेशन का हो जाएगा. So this was my feeling, and this was basically a crux of a very heavy discussion that I had with my old friend, who thinks that there's going to be a huge crash when these people start working and these people are dealing with the corporate culture. So I hope that clash does not happen, and I will keep bringing up more of such topics to you. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful Christmas and a very happy New Year to all of you.